I call this July 19th, regular session of the Oconee County Board of Education to order. It's very nice to see a room full of smiling and rested faces. Welcome back. First item is to approve the agenda. We need a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Burgess,
Second.
second Mr. Ransom, all in favor? Passes 5-4-0. Next, the board needs to vote on the minutes of the June 14th, 2021 regular session. We need a motion to approve.
I move.
Ms. Parrish,
Second.
second Mr. Ransom, all in favor? Next, we have recognitions. Ms. Mendez.
Good evening, Mr. Superintendent and members of the board. At this time, if you'll all come forward for the July 2021 recognitions. And tonight, our Director of CTAE and Federal Programs, Ms. Beth Parks, will assist with our very special recognition tonight, which is to honor the 2021 Title I Distinguished Schools. These are Title I schools that performed in the top 5% statewide of all Title I schools. So we are very excited for our schools to receive this honor. So first up, Dr. Catherine Brown, Principal, will accept the award on behalf of Oconee County Primary School.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
You know what to do. We go. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations, Dr. Brown. And next up, Ms. Jennifer Whitaker will accept the honor and the flag on behalf of High Shoals Elementary School.
Bet you're telling Brown that she planned up with you.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Congratulations. And finally, Mr. Keith Carter will accept the award on behalf of Oconee County Middle School Principal Carter. All right, got it. And that concludes this evening's recognitions.
Next, we have the Superintendents Report. Dr. Branch?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, board members. We want to make sure that you know some new faces that have joined our team. In some situations, these faces are faces that you're aware of and have been promoted. In other situations, they're individuals that have joined us from other districts. So first, we'd like to welcome Dove Creek Elementary's new principal, Dr. Grace Staniszewski. And Grace obviously is taking over for Dr. Susan Stansel, and Dr. Stansel is joining us as Director of Secondary Education. Notice how she had to move from the back row to work. Also with us tonight is Ms. Caitlin Brand, Director of School Nutrition. And joining us at our next meeting will be Mr. Justin Kofer. He's our Director of Human Resources. He's not officially begun yet, so we'll introduce him at that time. But wanted to introduce those leaders and thank them for the work they're already doing and the outstanding work we know they'll continue to do. So congratulations and thank you for joining us. A couple of quick things, board members. We wanted to share that we're at this point 14 days away from the school year. And so lots of planning and preparation is taking place, as always, to welcome our students back and our teachers back and our parents back. And one of the first things that we'll be doing is August 2nd rather, is meet the teacher. And that is you may have seen this in social media, something that we gained knowledge about last year was staggered times, and our leaders thought that was the right way to do meet the teacher, and our parents had wonderful feedback on that, so we're continuing those staggered times throughout our schools, and that'll be taking place on August the 2nd. Obviously, school starts shortly thereafter on August the 4th. It's our first Wednesday in August. We've been starting school, I believe, for over a decade on the first Wednesday in August, and we look forward to welcoming all of our students back in person and all of our staffs and working to have a very productive and normal year as we begin August the 4th. The last thing that I have for you, unless there are questions, is just a reminder that tonight we do have the local school board training plan that has to be adopted each year. It's a state mandated training plan, and we have a document in front of you that outlines the planned trainings the board will take place, and we just approve that when we get to our action items later on. That will conclude Superintendent's Report. Unless there are questions.
Questions? Thank you, Dr. Branch. Next, we have presentations and discussions. First is Teaching and Learning Report, Dr. Claire Buck.
Good evening, Superintendent, board members. The July 2021 Teaching and Learning Board Report contains one item of information and one action item. The item of information is regarding summer learning programs. However, before this update, I would like to inform you that we are very excited, as Dr. Branch just mentioned, our first day of school, August 4th. We will be welcoming all of our students back in person and providing the in-person learning opportunity for all of our students for the 21-22 school year. As always, Georgia Virtual School is available for students in grades 6 through 12. That is the case every year, and the availability of these courses is subject to the availability of personnel to be able to supervise students on that online platform. We are also very busy preparing professional learning for our teachers returning to us in just a very short few days coming up. We are hosting our second summer summit. You may recall last summer we had a virtual summit that we provided professional learning for teachers. Excited once again though to report this will be held in person this year, this Friday. It will take place at North Oconee High School. We have our own great Oconee County teachers that will be teaching various sessions, as well as several staff members from Northeast Georgia, RESA. In addition to that, the following Friday, we have our annual district pre-planning professional learning day. We will be providing a lot of different opportunities for teachers to have some professional learning and preparation for the upcoming school year. At this time, very pleased to provide an update on the various summer learning programs that took place in our district. I'm going to invite up to the podium Jennifer Adams, our Director of Elementary Education, Dr. Susan Stansel, our Director of Secondary Education, Beth Parks, Director of CTAE and Federal Programs, and Suzanne Korngold, Director of Special Education, to provide some brief updates to you all about the summer programs.
Good evening. We are very excited to share about 2 summer programs for students needing additional support due to lost learning time or learning disruption as a result of COVID-19. So our first program was Summer Explorer Camp, and this began after Memorial Day, and it will end July 23rd. This program was designed as a virtually monitored intervention for students who could benefit from moderate support in either reading or math. So we have 13 teachers supporting approximately 125 students. And teachers monitor progress each week and communicate with parents and students based on the needs of the student. So our second program that we offered was Summer Bridge Camp. And this began June 7th and it ended June 24th. So it was Monday through Thursday for a total of 12 days. Students attended at Malcolm Bridge Elementary School from 8 to 11 every day. This camp was designed as a targeted in-person program focusing on interventions in reading and math while also supporting social emotional learning. So every day, students were provided math, reading, and writing support. And in addition, students either participated in a STEM class or a CTAE class. So we had both high schools and middle school CTAE teachers and FFA students that came on scheduled days for students to have experiences in coding, the engineering design process, plants and seeds, sheep and goats, and chickens and eggs. So it was really awesome. We had about 135 students attend, and based on our student numbers, we selected 16 teachers to teach and lead this camp from a pool of 29 teachers who were interested. I was so amazed at the amount of teachers that showed interest in supporting our students throughout the summer, especially after the year they just had. So, students received breakfast and lunch every day, transportation was offered and provided, and the teachers who worked with these students in person then began monitoring progress and meet with students virtually throughout July, and this will also end July 23rd. So it's been an amazing experience. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sweetsoul. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. I'm excited to share with you an update regarding the secondary summer programs in my new role as the Director of Secondary Education. Our middle school summer program was held at Malcolm Bridge Middle from June 1st through the 17th. 61 students participated in this extension program and attended daily sessions for 3 hours and 15 minutes each day. This program was set up in a camp-like atmosphere and students engaged in hands-on, fun learning activities. These rising 7th, 8th, and 9th grade students also completed their summer reading requirements so that they could start school this year with confidence as they were already ahead of the game. Our high school summer program was held at OCS from May 26th through June 24th. 51 students participated in this program, which followed our traditional summer format for course extension and credit recovery. For students who received a final grade of 60 to 69 in the gradebook, they could participate in course extension to get their grade up to a passing score. For students who received below a 60, they could participate in credit recovery and completely retake the course. We were also able to provide breakfast and lunch to our secondary students and provide transportation for our middle school students. Both programs were highly successful this summer in supporting our secondary students. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Beth Parks.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. We were so excited to get to host our ESOL summer camp again this year. The ESOL Summer Science Discovery Camp was held the first 2 weeks of June at Oconee County Primary School. 24 of our upcoming 3rd and 4th grade ESOL students from all across the district participated. Our rising 3rd grade students had the opportunity to preview the geology unit that they will see next year by participating in many hands-on activities related to rocks and minerals. Our rising 4th grade students previewed the weather and water cycle units that they will also see in the first semester of this upcoming school year. And they participated in a variety of fun experiments and investigations. The main focus for both of these groups was becoming more familiar with the vocabulary that they will see when they get to those units of instruction. We were very excited also, as you've heard, to get to work with school nutrition to provide breakfast and lunch to our students. We also were able to provide parents the choice of either dropping their students off at the camp and picking them up or choosing bus transportation to get their students to and from camp each day. We did receive several emails from parents after the camp expressing their gratitude and sharing how much these students enjoyed these 2 weeks. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Ms. Cornwell now.
Good evening, board members. Thanks for allowing us to share the good stuff that goes on here in Oconee. I'm going to give a brief overview of extended school year. That is the ESY services that are provided to students, special education students. The IEP team considers the child's needs for extended school year annually. So that is done every year for our students with special needs. If the need for ESY is determined by the IEP team, then they identify what goals that are currently in the student's IEPs that will be addressed during the ESY service period. The case manager provides a present level of performance of where the child is functioning, what additional materials or equipment or assistive technology that would be needed during extended service program for that special ed teacher who would be teaching those students. The ESY teacher will then be responsible for providing the services for the IEP goals that were being addressed and for monitoring those goals and objectives. They provide the parents at the end of ESY with a progress report on those goals and objectives. Extended school year was held during the month of June this year. It was at Malcolm Bridge Elementary along with the elementary summer program, which was phenomenal because our students also got to tap into all the wonderful things that Ms. Adams was providing for the Summer Bridge students. We also include any services that our students may need, such as speech and language services. Special education was also offered to any students at the secondary level and all the programs they were offering, and for the ones at Summer Bridge. So we had a large number of special ed students receiving either extended school year, remediation, or acceleration. So we were really pleased with the programs that were being offered this summer. Once again, breakfast and lunch was provided for our students, and of course transportation is always an option for parents as well. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. I appreciate the work that these leaders did to provide these learning opportunities for our students this summer, and I want to commend all of our teachers and leaders that were involved in these programs. As you heard, we've had a busy summer. Summer of learning opportunities, and appreciate the opportunity to share this update with you this evening. There is one action item on the teaching and learning report, and that is board policy IFBG, Internet Acceptable Use. This policy was placed on the table for public and review and comment following the June 14th Board of Education meeting, and the recommendation from the superintendent is for the Board of Education to approve board policy IFBG, Internet Acceptable Use. And that concludes the teaching and learning report.
Any questions, comments?
Just a comment, Claire. I mean, all of you guys should be really commended for the efforts you put into what you did this summer. After the year we've had, and obviously the need that created for those programs to have that much of an effort to reach back to all of those students to help them, maybe try to somewhat recover from what we went through was admirable. So it's just another indication of the quality and why the school system functions so well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next presentation is from Operations, Mr. Brock Toole.
Good evening, everybody. The Oconee County Schools Operation Division has 3 items of information and 2 action items. Our first item of information is our energy report, and I'd like to say that this year it shows an on-trend increase from usage over April, like it does almost every year. This is the lowest to date, with the exception of last year when we were out. So it's very commendable for Steve Breidenbaugh and his team. Our second item of information is our pest control RFP. Proposals for the FY22 pest control contract were received June 1st of 2021. Houseman Services is the winning proposer, and they're also our current vendor for pest control. Our third item of information is our construction update, and I'm going to call up Fred Ricketson to go over the construction update.
Good evening. So we started construction on Collin Ferry on July the 6th. Site work's underway. If you've been in the area, you'll probably notice a lot of dump trucks. We've trucked in approximately 425 loads of dirt to build the building pad for the new building. Utility installation and relocations is underway. And they're prepping now to make the connection to the existing building. So it's only been a few weeks. They're still on schedule for the moment, and we're doing well. Oh, I also have one of the action items is the tennis courts. I'd like to just go ahead and give you all a little information about that. I evaluated the tennis courts at both high schools. I learned a lot about tennis courts in this process. One of the things I learned is about every 7 years they have to be resurfaced to provide the optimal playing surface. Both schools have been about 9 years since it's been done. And I've got proposals from 4 different contractors, and Brock's going to make a recommendation when the action item comes up.
Any questions of the construction report before we go into any of the action items?
How many tennis courts do we have?
We have 10 at one school,
10 at North and 8 at
8 at OC.
And they all have lighting?
No ma'am,
They do not have
no
lighting?
ma'am, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. We have 2 actual action items tonight. One is our bus purchases, and as always, I have to commend Dwayne and his team back there with the bus purchases. I mean, with the whole process for that matter. But on the bus purchases, there were 3 bidders, Thomas, Bluebird, and International. And it's the superintendent's recommendation for the Board of Education to approve the purchase of 4 new buses from Thomas, Peach State Freightliner, for a total cost of $387,980. It's $96,995 per bus, and the funding will be through a state grant, $308,000 of that, and the remainder through ELOS and ESOL 3. The second action item is the high school tennis court resurfacing that Fred just spoke about. And the superintendent's recommendation is for the Board of Education to approve creative courts for the resurfacing of 18 tennis courts at both high schools for a total cost of $89,434. This will be funded through ELOS 5. Any questions on any of that, John?
What's the expected timeline for the tennis court work?
We got 4 of the quotes. I think we went ahead September, if I'm not mistaken, the end of September is 10.
To be finished with?
That's when they'll start on them, and they'll mobilize, do one high school and then the other, and I think it's expected for about 2 weeks to complete it all.
So by the end of October, they
Yes,
should be finished with both?
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Anyone else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next presentation is, I think, Human Resources.
Dr. Branch and board members, good evening. We do have 2 items of information tonight from Human Resources and 2 action items. First item of information concerns hiring for the new school year. And as Dr. Branch mentioned, we are just excited as anything about what's coming, and had to check myself twice today that it's in 2 weeks. It's hard to imagine. But we are excited. And board members, as you know, historically, and I'll do this again this year, over the next couple of months, I'll give you a lot more detail and break down our hiring for the year. But as always, just to give you a little preview this evening, it's been another great year, and we have brought forward some excellent candidates to put before our students, and including the recommendations that we'll bring you tonight. It'll bring to a total of 80 the number of hiring recommendations that we brought to you over the course of what we call this hiring season in preparation for this coming school year. And I want to tell you that, as always, but especially this year, the leaders behind me, our principals, their teams, the team in my office, Donna Kane and Sonia Higgins and Suzanne Graves, have just done yeoman's work. There's a lot that goes into, as you all know, and you see the names and the recommendations most every week. There's a lot that goes into trying to find the best of the best and then getting them from point A, wherever that is, to here, where we want them. So we're very excited about the hiring that's taking place and continues to take place as we approach the start of the school year. The next item of information is biometric screenings. And I just want to let you know, board members, you'll remember that for a number of years now, we have offered to our employees as well as retirees and spouses the opportunity to come get a biometric screening through the state health benefit plan that really goes toward their incentives for state health. And of course, like everything, we had to take a step back from that last year, but we had it again this year face to face over the course of a couple of days and had over 120 persons that came and participated in that. I want to thank Donna Kane, who once again did terrific work for us in setting that up. It's an early morning, it's a long day, but it's a great opportunity to come in. Tell you from my own experience, you're in and out of there in 10 minutes, and you either walk away feeling really good or maybe thinking, I got a little work to do on some of these things, but you do get good information from that. And then board members, our two action items tonight are two policies you'll recall that we placed on the table last month. The first one is board policy GBIA. That is the creation of a new policy based on state law that has been passed. And that is our recommendation that the superintendent will make tonight is that comes off the table and that you approve the creation of that policy. And then the second action item involves revisions to long-standing existing policy, board policy GARH, which is our employee leaves and absences policy. So both of those will be brought forward tonight as action items. Unless there are any questions, that will conclude the human resources report.
Any questions? Thank you. Next is student services. Dr.
I-
Excited to talk to y'all.
I noticed we have Dr.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everybody. The Student Services Report contains 5 items of information and 4 action items tonight. The first item of information is the COVID-19 update. As you all know, the state of emergency regarding COVID-19 expired last month, and I wanted to give you a few data points in terms of where we are today compared to where we were a year ago in July, before I get further into the report. So today, the 7-day moving average in Oconee County for COVID-19 is 1.6, and 51% of county residents have been vaccinated, which puts us at the top of the state in terms of our vaccination rate in Oconee County. On July 19th of 2020, the 7-day moving average for positive cases in Oconee County was 9.4. And of course, the vaccine wasn't available at that time, so 0% of residents were vaccinated. And I'd also like to share with you, or while I cannot share individual medical information from our staff, I'm happy to report that through our partnerships with the Oconee Health Department and Piedmont Athens Regional, last spring, we're aware of between 75 and 80% of our district staff that was vaccinated through that partnership, and obviously I would guess that more people were vaccinated throughout the summer as they got more information. Oconee County Schools continues to have regular communication with the Georgia Department of Public Health with regard to our mitigation plans and things that we're doing to support them, as well as the things they're doing to support us. And for next year, we plan to continue to report positive cases to the Department of Public Health to assist them with their contact tracing efforts. We also are going to continue to send a letter to the classrooms of affected individuals, notifying them that there was a positive case in their class. Masks will not be required on any Oconee County Schools properties. However, if an individual chooses to wear a mask, they're going to be welcome to do so. And our operations divisions will continue with their enhanced cleaning protocols, such as spraying our buses with BioEsk and also making hand sanitizer available for everyone on our campuses. The second item of information is our back to school immunizations. Through a partnership with the Oconee Health Department, they are providing all of the necessary back to school immunizations that students might need to continue in school. They are currently open
all week long, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 4. They're available by walk-in and appointment on Thursdays from 8 to 6 and Fridays from 8 to 1. And they've also made themselves available on 2 Saturdays in the near future, one on August 7th and one on September 4th. And both of those will take place from 8 to 12. Make sure our students have everything they need to get the school year started off safely and healthy. The third item of information is Senate Bill 42, also referred to as the Dexter-Mosley Act. And basically that states that effective July 1st of this year, homeschooled students in grades 6 through 12 are eligible to participate in extracurricular activities at their local public school. They are also required to enroll in one qualifying course at the local school, and the way that we've set up that process is they will complete the same enrollment process that any student would complete to enroll in our schools, and during that process they're going to be prompted to answer the question whether or not they are in fact a homeschool student, and if they do that, then we'll get them all the information that they need as well as schedule them for the appropriate course. The fourth item of information is school nutrition update. The USDA has again announced that meals will continue to be provided at no cost for our students through the 21-22 school year. And you heard all the wonderful work that Teaching and Learning supported this summer. During that time, our school nutrition staff were able to provide 3,872 meals to students who participated in those programs. And while I'm on the topic, I'd like to commend our school nutrition staff. Many of them, as you recall, continue reporting to work during our school closure last March, continued to do that throughout last summer, showed up and made sure they did everything they could do to give our kids the meals that they needed to be successful in school, and then showed up this summer and continued to report every day to make sure those summer programs and kids were getting fed during those programs. So the character and care that they displayed and have for our kids are unmatched in my opinion. I wanted to say thank you publicly to those folks. The fifth item of information is our summer athletic camps. We've provided athletic camps for our students facilitated by our high schools. We've facilitated, or at the end of summer, we will have facilitated over 14 camps serving over 500 of our students throughout the summer. We have 4 action items. The first action item is our school nutrition program bids. The school nutrition department is a member of the Georgia Educational Cooperative, and the cooperative prepares all requirements of each bid, and then the bid is presented to the group for approval. The bids are attached to the presentation here, and the superintendent's recommendation will be to approve those. Also have North Oconee High School field trip. Fast Pitch Softball would like to travel to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, September 10th and 11th. And we also have our district FFA field trip to Indianapolis, Indiana on October 26th through the 30th. And finally, my fourth action item is a policy update. And this is competitive interscholastic activities policy, where we need to update that to reflect the language of Senate Bill 42 to include homeschool students being able to participate in interscholastic activities. And the superintendent's recommendation will be to place that on the table for public comment and review. That concludes the student services report, unless there's any questions.
Any questions? Ms. Burgess?
Dr. LaBeouf.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that DPH will be doing the contact tracing this year.
Yes, sir.
As opposed to what you and your staff mostly did
Yes, sir.
last year. Do you know how their practice in terms of quarantining and notifying students of a quarantine situation? Do you know how that process with them will work as opposed to what we did this past school year?
Yeah, so basically they would take the lead on the investigation, which starts always with that positive case, and then they would investigate, starting with that positive case, who was a close contact, and notify those individuals.
Okay. So any notification to students that may be caught up in a quarantine because of a positive case will come from DPH as opposed to come from us?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Next school year.
That's correct.
What is the quarantine? what are the quarantine rules now? I mean,
So they haven't changed since the end of the year, so you've got that testing opportunity to leave quarantine early. So it's,
so regardless if you've been vaccinated or not, you would
if you're vaccinated,
You
you
don't
would
need to
not have to
quarantine.
quarantine.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
How do you demonstrate to DPH that how are they gonna determine vaccinated versus unvaccinated students?
In my conversations with them, they're going to ask that question and,
Rely on the answer.
rely on the answer. Now, they do have the ability, they did share to verify that in their database. So they have that as well that I'm sure they can do.
Okay, but as Amy was asking, the practice in terms of what happens to students that are in contact with a positive case, that practice will be the same as what we had this past school year, or the requirements will be the same as what we had this school year. It's just that all will now be communicated and come from DPH.
Yes, sir. The DPH's guidance with regard to close contacts that definition hasn't changed since the end of the year. It changed throughout the year last year, but it's the same as it was in May.
I think that's important because I think a lot of people are starting to maybe think that we've passed the whole quarantine issue, and you're saying it's still there. Let's just hope we don't have the same level of incidence that we had before. But if whatever happens, that quarantine is still in place, at least as far as DPH is concerned.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next presentation is business services. Ms. Harlow.
Good evening, board members. Business Services has 5 information items and 1 action item for tonight's meeting. The first item is the cash balance report for June. The second item of information is the ELOS collections report. The rolling average is 9.5% over the previous year, and this month's collections are 24.2% over the previous period last year. The third item of information is the board report for ELOS 5, and as every month, the revenues and expenses have been updated as of June 30th. The fourth item of information is the budget amendment for FY21. I have good news. Our FY21 revenue will grow $5.8 million more than we anticipated due to our student enrollment growth, local tax revenue, and partial restoration of the austerity cut. And we were able to operate within the adopted budget. And the last item of information is an update on the tax digest. The required hearing dates and times were today, July 19th, 1 at 9 a.m. and 1 at 5:30 p.m. And the third hearing will be July 26th at 6 p.m. Our tentative millage rate is 16.5 mils, the same as last year, but due to the growth in the tax digest, we are required to have hearings. The dates and times will satisfy all requirements for the adoption of the final millage rate at the August 2nd board meeting. And that concludes the information items. Are there any questions before I move on to the action items?
Any questions?
Just a couple of questions. First, let me congratulate you. You've only been in charge for 1 month, and you've already increased the sales tax.
You're welcome.
So you've gotten off to a great start. On the budget amendment, this additional $5.8 million in revenue that comes in that gets added, what will that take our end of the year, fiscal year 21, end of the year fund balance to? In other words, what does that now take our fund balance to? We start off the new fiscal year with
We estimate that to be $30 million.
$30 million.
Mhm.
Okay. That's total. That's not assigned, unassigned, whatever. That's the total.
Yes, sir.
And on the ELOS sheet, I want to ask one thing about if you'll be willing to add a little bit more information to this ELOS 5 sheet that we use to kind of keep a summary of where we are. We're only about 18 months away from this ELOS finishing, so we're in the last 18 months of it finishing. But and we've been showing the debt at the bottom as sort of a 1 year sort of rolling number. Would you go ahead and put on there, if my memory serves me, that our debt on that ELOS runs fiscal year all the way through fiscal year, I think, 23?
I don't have that details
Okay.
in the
I'm not sure either, but I know it runs at least to the end of the collection period and maybe a little farther.
Yes.
Can you go ahead and put on this sheet then what each of those calendar year numbers would be? Like we're showing calendar year 21, there's still a little bit of interest payment left, and then we're done for calendar year 21. Can you go ahead and include for calendar year 22 and calendar year 22, and then whatever balance would be left after that. The ELOS will close out at the end of calendar year 22. I think there's some amount of payment after that, but I'm not sure how much. You go ahead and put those on here so that we can kind of keep those in front of us as we finish this ELOS collections and start to ramp up all of the capital programs that we're going to be launching into, have already, and be getting even farther into the next 12 months.
Yes,
So
sir.
we just kind of keep those numbers totally in front of us, and then you can sort of tick them off as we go, and as they pass, they become a paid amount and drop off. But I'd like to have that on there just to kind of keep those big numbers out in front of us, so we don't forget that there's still debt to be paid, even though we're collecting these dollars.
Yes, sir. That is the board's wish, we can do that.
Thank you. That's assuming that everybody else is okay with that. Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, Ms. Norton.
There is
we have
one
an
action item.
Sorry.
The one action item for tonight is the FY 2021 budget amendment as reported in the fourth information item earlier. I ask that the superintendent recommend the approval of the FY 2021 budget amendment. And that concludes my report unless there are any more questions.
Next, presentation is communications. Ms. Mendez.
Good evening. The Communications Board Report has one item of information and one action item. First up is our annual report. I'm excited to share that it will be reaching individuals' mailboxes starting at the end of next week. Furman Printing was great to work with on this project, and they're actually right here in Watkinsville. As I mentioned, this has been mailed to all business and residential addresses in Oconee County. In addition, it will be provided to the Chamber, Welcome Center, and local realtors as well. A huge thank you to our sponsors once again. Our premier sponsor is Oconee State Bank, and our other sponsors are Bank South, Georgia United Credit Union, and Peach State Federal Credit Union. And we can briefly go through it as well. So if you'll scroll to the front page, this really became our theme this year. If you'll go to the cover, Oconee Strong. This is what we found. This is what happened in our community. More than ever this last year, we found just how strong we were together. And then you can see on the next page is your governance team of the year information and a letter from the board and the superintendent. And then we have information about the graduating class of 2021. They were accepted to 200 colleges and universities, 4 military branches, and offered nearly $7 million in scholarships, not including the Hope or Zell Miller. And then there's also just a quick 2-pager kind of in here that we also take out later and make our quick backs. Just lots of information, and we do love those number ones. Number 1, financial efficiency. Number 1, school system in Georgia. Number 1, governance team in Georgia. And number 1, county with the best public schools in Georgia. In addition, there is information on every single school in here. So they have a snapshot in here, and there were also flyers and posters made for all of our schools. I really appreciate the principal's feedback on this, taking the time to look it over and help me with the photographs. And then we have information about our CTAE programs and community partnerships as well. And our teachers of the year and our retirees. And so this really just showcased that we were strong together, we were here, and we were able to stay open for 180 days. And so much happened besides just staying open. Our students enjoyed just a wonderful education last year as well. We also have information in here about our Alumni Association, our 3rd annual Villa Parent Academy. And then we just finished it up with some different pictures from around our school system and just a year of Oconee Strong. And so there's our annual report. It's on our website at oconeeschools.org/annual report. And again, hard copies will be reaching all of your mailboxes next week. And then finally, we have one action item, and the superintendent's recommendation is for the board to approve board policy BCBI, which is public participation in board meetings. This has been updated to align with Senate Bill 68. And that concludes the communications report unless there are any questions. All right, thank you so much.
Next on our agenda is communications to the board. Do we have anyone signed up?
We don't.
Then we'll move on to action items. Got quite a few. Any way we can combine a few of these?
Yes, ma'am. If it pleases the board, we can take A through D.
Okay.
So the recommendation would be for the board to remove these items off the table and place them into action.
We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Burgess.
Second.
Second, Ms. Parrish. All in favor? Passes 4-0.
The next board policy is the one that Dr. LaDuff shared, the competitive interscholastic activities. And the recommendation would be to place this on the table for public review and comment until the next board meeting.
We need a motion to do this.
So moved.
Mr. Ransom.
Second.
Second, Ms. Parrish. All in favor? Passes 4-0.
Up next, the nutrition program bids, as Dallas shared. This is a consortium of sorts that we work with systems from around the state with to get better deals for our students and families, and so we'd ask that the board approve those as presented.
We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Burgess.
Second.
Second, Mr. Ransom. All in favor? Passes 4-0.
Good news, we can take the next two together as long as no one's opposed to our teams going to Alabama.
As long as they come back.
As long as they come back. All right. So we would ask the board to approve both of those field trips as presented.
We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Ms. Parrish. Need a second.
Second.
Mr. Ransom. All in favor? Passes 4-0.
Up next is the local school board training. Again, this is a state mandated requirement, so you have that plan in front of you and would recommend approval as presented.
We need a motion to approve a training plan.
So moved.
Mr. Burgess.
Second.
Second, Ms. Parrish. All in favor? Passes 4-0.
Up next, and you see Dwayne smiling back there, so you know he must be getting some new buses upon your approval. So we would recommend that the board approve the purchase of 4 buses from Thomas Beach State Freight Line.
We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Ransom.
Second.
Second, Ms. Parrish. All in favor? Passes 4-0.
Fred's also smiling because he's at a point to be able to recommend this. So appreciate the good work that our new director of facilities and operations team are doing. In so many areas, but we would recommend that the board approve creative courts for the resurfacing of the tennis courts at both high schools for a total cost of $89,434.
We need a motion to approve.
I mean,
Ms. Parrish. Second, Mr. Burgess. All in favor? Passes 4-0.
Final recommendation of the night is the budget amendment number 1 as presented by Liz, and so we would recommend approval as presented.
We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Burgess.
Second.
Second, Mr. Ransom. All in favor? Passes 4-0. I want to thank everybody for their hard work, and I want to wish you the best success in this upcoming school year. It's just right around the corner. We do have a need to go into executive session and do need a motion.
I move that the board will adjourn to executive session to discuss or deliberate upon personnel matters as described on the affidavit to be attached to the minutes.
Second.
Second, Mr. Ransom. All in favor? Passes 4-0. Thank you.